And we should be good. Let's get it to pull up here. Okay. We got it. We got sound. We had a bad microphone. I don't know if something's wrong with that, or but everything seems all right now. Okay. We're good. Little technical difficulties. All right, let's hope everybody comes back. We'll give it a minute. There we go. We got some people popping back in now. We had a little technical difficulty there. Yeah. We got I don't know if we got a bad microphone here or what, but we'll have to. I think we got it all straightened out though now. So, all right. Technical difficulties are behind us. We got video, we got sound. We got a bad microphone or a bad receiver or something. I turned the other receiver on too. So one of the two of the things there is bad. We got a bad component there somewhere. So it's all good though now. So we'll give a minute or two. Hopefully everybody, we had 4 or 5 people on there. And hopefully they come back. Watch me finish building this upper this week. We started down the road last week of building a complete upper, a little at a time every week. And last week we talked about having a purpose behind your build, you know, figuring out what it is you wanted to do with the gun, what you wanted the gun for. That would kind of dictate what caliber maybe you were going to do, whether it was going to be a lightweight hunting rifle, a little heavier long-range target rifle, you know, just the different aspects of what you want a gun for and how that build might look for you based on those needs or those wants. And then obviously the budget, you know, setting a budget for yourself and figuring out how much it is you want to spend on building a gun. You know, and we talked about last week how you can almost always build a little bit more of a gun than what you can buy off the shelf. You know, that $750 AR with the clamshells and the A2 front sight post that you can buy off the shelf. You can build you a nice AR with a free float handguard and regular sights, you know, regular pop-up sights and so on and so forth for that same amount of money. So last week we put together the bulk of the upper receiver here. We put our dust cover on, we put our forward assist on, we put our bolt carrier group and our charging handle in. So this week we're going to finish out the rest of this upper. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and pull the bolt carrier group back out and the charging handle out and set that aside because we need to do a little bit of work in here that dictates those two components being removed. And what we're going to do this week is we're going to install the barrel. We have a 5.56 barrel here. 5.56 NATO, 1 7 twist, 16-inch barrel, black nitride. And then we're going at mid-length gas system. And we are going to install the gas block, the gas tube, our muzzle device, our sights, and our handguard today. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing we want to do is install our barrel. So I'm going to need my barrel nut, which comes with my handguard. So I am going to let's see, this is an elevation series, so I need the smaller Allen wrench. To get my barrel nut out. We always put our barrel nuts in our handguards when we ship them. That way the barrel nut isn't rolling around in the package and damaging the handguard. So if you ever buy a handguard from us and you say, hey, I didn't get a barrel nut, look inside the handguard. It's in there. We've had a couple guys contact us and say, hey, I didn't get no barrel nut. Yeah, it's in the handguard. Okay. Now, installing a barrel onto a upper receiver. This is a brand new upper receiver, so the threads have not been manipulated in any way. So what I like to do when I'm installing, let me see, where's my clamshells? Right here. We're going to go ahead and close this, insert that into the clamshells. Now you may have to swing over here a little bit, Myra. Okay. We're going to go ahead and put a little grease where the barrel goes into the barrel extension. Okay. We are going to put just a little bit of Never Seize, anti-seize. I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. Now be careful with this stuff, especially this silver stuff from Permatex. You'll end up looking like the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz. It gets everywhere. Okay, so we're going to go ahead then and install the barrel nut. And by what I mean here is by stretching these threads, right? You install the barrel nut to the torque spec, and then let it sit for a second or two, right? Those threads are conforming, they're softening, they're moving in there. You go ahead and loosen that, and then go ahead and retorque it to spec again. So what you've done is you've kind of seated those threads. You've stretched them, you've released them, and then you've stretched them again. That lets those threads seat into the barrel nut and gives you a good solid lock. Okay. Well, the barrel is installed into the upper receiver at this point. Next thing we're going to do is put our gas tube into our gas block and install our gas block. So we're going to... Of course I forgot my knife this morning, huh? I never forget my knife. Except for today. Okay, so we have our gas tube roll pin, our gas tube, roll pin is very small, so I suggest putting a rag down to capture it so it doesn't roll away from you. And then we get our gas block. Okay. Pull our bench block over here so we have something to rest on. We're going to get our roll pin starter. And we're going to install. So there's two holes in the end of your gas tube. There's a through hole and then there's the gas hole. Okay? And the gas hole is going to line up with the gas hole that comes through the inside of the barrel nut, so that when you put this in and you blow through it, you should be able to blow through it. If you don't have it installed properly, you can't blow through it, okay? So you should always be able to blow through the gas tube if it's installed properly. And we're going to go ahead and set that there. And then we're going to get our pin started. Okay. And then once it's started, we can finish it off. Okay? And we double check to make sure that we didn't rotate or move anything out of alignment when we were doing that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and grease up our gas journal. And we'll grease up the inside of our gas block just a little bit. That way, if it's a little bit of a snug fit, makes it a little easier to install. And you should be a little bit of a snug fit. So if it doesn't want to go on, your set screws are probably in a little too far. So you just back your set screws out a couple turns and it should slide right on. Okay, so we don't have a super loose fit here, but we have a nice snug, right? It's a little bit snug going on. Not super hard, but not super loose either. That's a really good fit. See, it wiped all the grease off. That's a really good fit. So this is a dimpled barrel that allows for self-alignment. So we will line up and we will tighten that screw up to get us in place. Now we don't have to worry too much about gas tube alignment here because we have a dimpled barrel. So if I didn't have a dimpled barrel, I would make sure that I had good alignment before I Loctited these. But I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on that screw. Put it in place, wipe the excess off, tighten that screw down, then I'll take the other one out. Put a little Loctite on that one. And again, wipe the excess off. And I'll put a good tighten on both of those again, making sure they're nice and snug. Okay. Gas system is installed. You can see the gas tube comes through into the upper receiver. It's nice and straight in there. When you put the charging handle, it should slide in easily, lock in place, and so should your bolt carrier group. Both should lock in, slide right in place without any resistance. Okay, but we're going to take those back out of there for now until we're completely done with this, because I do need to put this back in the block and back in the vise to install my handguard and my muzzle device. Okay. Handguard slides right over, aligns with and then line everything up. And we're just going to snug the front bolt down for now. Once it's in place. And then when we pull it off, we can tighten the rest of them. We're going to put our flash hider on here. Now you can have, you can use a flash hider, muzzle device, blast diverter. You can use a flash hider like such. Maybe you have a can you're going to put on there, and you need a chemo mount, whatever it might be. And you can use washers, or you can use a crush washer. I usually only use the washers, the spacing washers, on something like the chemo mount. Typically any other device, I'll use the crush washer. So if you're using, I'll tell you a little tip. Okay, these are certain thicknesses, right? These are 1,000ths, 2,000ths, 4,000ths, 10,000ths. Okay, the thread pitch on a standard AR upper receiver is 28 threads per inch. On the barrel is 28 threads per inch. It's half 28, and the pitch on that is 35 thousandths. So what the pitch means is the distance from one thread to the other is 35 thousandths. So if you put a muzzle device on and you are half of a turn out, you're about 17 thousandths out. You need about 17 thousandths of shims to bring it back to 90 degrees out. If you're a quarter of a turn out, you need about 8 thousandths of shims. If you're 3/4 of a turn out, you need about 21 thousandths, 20 thousandths. Okay, so you take the thread pitch, which is 28. You take 1, which is your constant. 1 is your constant. 1 thread divided by 28, right? You have 1 inch. That's your constant. Always your constant, 1 inch. 28 threads per 1 inch. You divide 1 inch by 28, you get 0.035. That's the distance from one thread to the other. Oh, to live in a state that allows suppressors, yeah. Yeah, we do. We're pretty lucky here in Ohio. We have pretty good gun. We're pretty friendly, 2A friendly here. So if you're putting on a muzzle device that requires shims, that's how to know about how many shims you need to time your device back out. 35 thousandths per revolution. If you need a half a revolution, you need half of that in shims. If you need 3/4, a quarter, whatever it might be, you take that number and divide it by whatever the rotation that you need to do to figure out roughly how much shim you need to bring your device back to top dead center. So we're going to go ahead and put our crush washer on. Put our muzzle device on. And look at that. It's going to take about 1 full turn to get that back around, because it's just past, right? There's center there, and it's just about past, it's just a little past center. So this is going to take some ooga doogas here. So here's what I like to do when I have to go 1 complete revolution on a crush washer. I like to crush my washer about halfway, leave it sit for a second or two, and then back off. Take the tension off of it. Let it ease, right? And then go a little more and back off, right? I've had crush washers snap on me when I tried to do too much all at once. When I tried to put too much into them all at once, I've had them snap. So when I have to go almost a complete revolution, I like to go a little at a time. You can get a complete revolution out of a crush washer. You just have to be careful when doing it. Just a hair more. Okay, there you go. Now we're going to go ahead, tighten the rest of our handguard screws. And if you don't have an inch-pound torque wrench, we recommend about a quarter of a turn past snug on our handguard bolts. So when you get them snug, you go about a quarter of a turn. And as you tighten the ones towards the rear, the ones in the front will loosen up. So you got to go back and tighten them some more. And then just make sure that they're all about the same. And you don't want to close that gap completely. Okay? If you close that gap completely, you're too tight. Okay? You've caused malformation. And you could cause damage to the handguard. Okay? We're going to put this back together. And now the last thing we're going to do to complete this upper is install our sights. So we have a set of iron sights here. Okay. The rear sight is your peep or your aperture sight, and the front sight is your post. Is your post sight. Okay? Front sight, rear sight. And if you want to know more about iron sights, we did a show on those in the past. You can look for that on YouTube. So the key to sights, one of the keys to sights, is that you want the most distance between sights that you can get from the front sight to the rear sight. That gives you your sight radius, which is going to allow you to adjust in a much finer. Okay. So you want your front sight back about as far as you can get it and still get to your charging handle. If you come back too far, you may not be able to get to your charging handle. So I end up going about 1 or 2 slots forward on the Picatinny. This is actually 3. And that puts, when my sight lays down, I can still get my fingers, in here to get to my charging handle. Okay? If this was back too far and laying down, it might cause interference with getting to my charging handle. And then we put the front sight on all the way forward as far as we can get it. And that's going to give us our best possible sight radius. Check them for function. Everything is working well. Good to go. That's the completed upper. So over the next 2 weeks, when we complete the lower, then we'll be able to put the 2 pieces together and we'll have a completed rifle. So, about 15 minutes or so on the last show and about 15 or so minutes on this show. So I got, maybe a half an hour, 20 minutes to a half an hour in building this upper. And there you have it. It's that simple. We always tell you it's very simple to build your own AR. And we'll help you do it. Okay. And that's a nice clean looking free float handguard upper. Nice color match. Everything looks really good. Everything lined up well. Everything looks centered well. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put the sight posts down so that nothing happens to them. And that's that. The sights do come with a lifetime warranty, so make sure you register your sights for that lifetime warranty. And that's that. That's a completed upper. Next week we will start to build the lower. I've got the lower receiver stashed in the safe, and we'll pull that out next week, and we'll start putting the lower parts kit into the lower receiver. The week after we'll put the buttstock and all that stuff on, and then we'll be able to take it out to the range. In the week in between those two, I'm going to show you how to do a head space. I've done head spacing before, but I'm going to show you how to do all the function tests and the head spacing, proper head spacing of an AR rifle. So, yeah, that's that. We didn't get a lot of questions today. Hi, Russ. Yeah, well, you know, work gets in the way sometimes. How's the new job? Hope everything's working out well for you. There. Okay. Get all my stuff put away here. Okay. All done for this week. That's the completed upper receiver. So I hope you'll join me next week as we start to put together the lower. And this is actually kind of a rifle we're going to end up taking to some of the different shows that we shoot at. We have a couple shows that we go to where you hiring, that will tell you. Okay, not digging it, huh? Yeah, we are hiring, as a matter of fact, but Pittsburgh is a long drive. So we're going to end up taking this gun to some of the shows that we have, that we actually do range time at, that we end up shooting at. That way, as we're talking to customers about our rifle build kits, you know, we can say, look, this is the rifle that you're going to build right out of that kit. This is exactly what you're going to get. Take it over there on the range and have at it. Shoot away and see what you think, right? See how cool it looks, and then take it over and shoot it. So, all right, so join me next week, and we'll start in on the lower receiver. Make sure I'm not missing any. All right, nope, I'm good. You guys are awful quiet today. I think a lot of people bailed on us earlier and didn't realize that we got our sound issue worked out and we came back. So, detents go we, yeah. Yeah, next week is the fun part, right? We got a lot of little springs and a lot of detents and a lot of little parts that you got to be careful with next week. A lot of little things go into the lower receiver that if you're not careful, they can go flying and you can lose them. You know, they make a kit called an oops kit, because when you go oops and the piece goes flying, you've got a little kit that has the backup pieces in it. You know, and you'll find that detent or that spring like 6 months from now when you're cleaning up, or it'll get sucked up in the vacuum cleaner and you'll hear it clinking around in the vacuum cleaner as it gets sucked up. Or your dog or cat will find it and be playing with it. All right, so join me next week. We'll start in on the lower receiver, and we got a couple weeks of that, and then we've got head spacing, proper lubrication, and function testing, and then hopefully we can get out to the range and do a little live fire function testing and sighting in, all the good stuff that comes with a brand new AR. So I appreciate you guys. Yeah, right. I know a few tricks to doing the lower that makes it pretty easy, and I am more than happy to share those tricks with you. So join me next week, and we'll talk about putting together a lower receiver, and I'll show you some of my stuff that I've learned over the years. I've not lost a detent or a spring in quite some time, so join me for those tips and tricks next week to putting together a lower. We appreciate you guys. Remember, you don't have to be an expert to build your own AR to upgrade it or maintain it. We're here to help you do that. Thanks.